Kia ora, good morning and welcome to Herald Now. I'm Ryan Bridge. It is Friday the 27th of June. On the show this morning, heavy rain and strong winds lashing the country today. We're live to Marlborough, plus Heather Keats from MetService on what more we can expect. Former Speaker of the House Trevor Mallard is being sued for using Baby Shark and other songs and sprinklers against parliamentary protesters, and we have the OIA receipts for you this morning. Just in time for the school holidays, Cardrona opening a new ski field. But will this weather mean that it's a bit of a washout? We'll find out. Plus, we've got Willie Jackson and Dan Bidwell from National on the panel this morning, and we'll check in with Hegseth from his Pentagon briefer. Right now, here's Neva with the news.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
A global security analyst says it's essential we fill the thousands of roles sitting empty in our Defence Force. Latest data shows more than 3,000 regular force positions and about 730 civilian roles were vacant at the end of March. Official figures show as of February, about a third of regular force roles were unfilled. Waikato University senior lecturer Ruben Steff says geopolitical tensions are rising in the South Pacific, so we need a modern military.
Imperial Japan got all the way down to the South Pacific in World War II. Australia and New Zealand in that war were basically on the chopping block. Yet there's almost no modern memory of this.
Emergency services are on high alert in the Upper South Island. A local state of emergency is in effect for parts of Marlborough, with Spring Creek residents being warned to leave their homes. Fire crews have also been called to flooding in and around homes in Richmond and Motueka. MetService says the top of the south is bearing the brunt of heavy rain. A severe thunderstorm watch is in effect for Auckland and Northland, and other parts of the country can also expect rain. Auckland City Rail Link is set to open with 19,000 peak passengers, much lower than earlier forecasts. In 2022, it was reported 27,000 passengers an hour would be using Auckland City Rail Link at peak times when it opens next year. Auckland Transport Rail Services Group Manager Mark Lambert says they must operate the network in a financially responsible way, providing the right frequency and capacity of trains to meet demand. And he says they're increasing the train fleet by about 30% to make a peak of 19,000 passengers possible. Local politicians will be given an allowance to buy security systems at their homes. The $4,500 matches what MPs currently get and will come into effect after this year's local elections. The money will be distributed by councils. Central Otago Mayor Taima Ellie says people need to be able to feel comfortable doing their jobs. She says members are also worried about their families. The injectable weight loss drug Wegovy will be available by Tuesday in New Zealand. The prescription drug has proved popular overseas with many celebrities using it. Weight loss physician Dr. Lara Courtenay says that the drug currently isn't funded by Pharmac, so people will have to pay. She says it would be great if it was funded one day, but there are lots of drugs which need money. The death of Te Pāti Māori MP Takutai Tash Kemp will prompt a by-election in her Tamaki Makaurau electorate. Kemp, who had kidney disease, has died at the age of 50. The first-term MP entered Parliament in 2023 after narrowly defeating Labour's Pene Henare, who had previously held the seat since 2014. The leader of Labour's Māori caucus, Willie Jackson, says the focus right now is on mourning, not campaigning.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
In sport, Penrith's NRL League season revival is on after securing an 8-6 win over Canterbury in a last-place thriller with the competition leaders on the cusp of a try. Golfer Kazuma Kobori's in a share of fourth, 2 strokes off the lead after carding a 4-under par 66 in the opening round of the Italian Open. Kane Williamson, Devon Conway and Lockie Ferguson are missing from coach Rob Walter's maiden Black Caps squad for next month's T20 Tri-Series with South Africa and host Zimbabwe. Bevan Jacobs is in line for a debut.
Right, it has just gone 3 minutes after 7 on Herald Now. If you've got a health problem, if you've got a mental health problem, if you've got a sleep problem, you can't sleep, if you've got an overweight problem, you've got an obesity problem, don't worry, because we can solve all of these things with a pill or an injection, or a prescription, or not even a prescription. That's the message we're getting from the government this week, quite loud and clear. From Tuesday, the Hollywood weight loss drug Wegovy, like Ozempic, will be available here not for diabetes, but to shift weight. People aren't being told not to eat too much and get obese. They're being told that once they do get too big, a drug can and will be available to make them small again. And forget counting sheep, I should say, when it comes to sleep. Melatonin will now be available over the counter for those who can't get a bit of shut-eye. You can also now get an ADHD diagnosis from your GP or a nurse practitioner. Usually you would need to see a psychiatrist for this. The medication that we're prescribing, now 10 times what it was 15 years ago. The question is whether, as a society, as a species even, all this pill-popping medication is evolution or insanity. Does the fact that we're wealthy enough to eat ourselves half to death and then fix it all with a simple twice-weekly injection a sign that we're smart or incredibly stupid? I honestly don't know the answer to this question at the moment. And I know that there are people out there who, for reasons not of their own making, are obese or overweight. But you have to say that by and large, the way the numbers have shifted over the last 4 decades is, by and large, the result of diet and exercise rather than any other factor. So we'd love your feedback on this one this morning. Ryan at nzherald.co.nz. We know you love an email, so get started. Just gone 7 after 5. Also, wherever you are, the weather. We want to hear from you and get your photos this morning. How are you faring? Ryan at nzherald.co.nz is how you get in touch. Here is the MetService update.
Herald Now weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning. A tense night for many in the northwest of the South Island, with the relentless rain continuing thanks to this large low spinning out to the west. It's pushing fronts and troughs over central New Zealand today before the low itself heads east tomorrow. So the orange heavy rain warnings for parts of Nelson District remains in place till 6 tonight. For Tasman, this will expire at midday. Now, for those in Auckland and Northland, be wary of thunderstorms. They'll ramp up this morning with the risk of localised downpours. So a mostly cloudy day expected for the lower south. Rain returns from late afternoon or evening with southeasterlies for most. Plenty of rain still to come here, especially over those watch and warning areas in the north. Christchurch, you'll have rain at times too, with a southerly turning westerly. The main rain band will head east today, so periods of rain may be thundery for New Plymouth, but it is clearing with most dry by early tonight. A heavy rain warning is in place for Bay of Plenty and Rotorua from midday today, but rain also spreads further east with strong north to northeasterlies. And a work from home day for those in the upper north if you can. Rain, possible downpours this morning, and nor'easters gusting 90 k's for Auckland.
And we will check in with Heather Keats from MetService a little later in the show after 7 o'clock. Right now, just gone 6 after 7, not 7 after 5, as I may have mentioned earlier in the show. My apologies. Joining us now for our Friday political panel, Dan Bidwar, National MP. Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
Ryan.
to have you here. And Willie Jackson from Labor is here.
Morena. Kia ora.
Good to have you guys here. So we'll start with Tash. Very sad news, Willie, and I know Parliament sort of paid its respects yesterday, but a very, very sad day for Parliament and for her family and whānau.
You know, it was it was a terrible day, really, but it was good. I was just saying to Dan, it's wonderful we could come together as a Parliament. It's that humanitarian side, isn't it? You know, everybody sort of showed the kaupapa dignity, aroha. She's a beautiful woman, Tash. I've known her for many years. We worked together before she came to Parliament. She ran everything in terms of Manureo and Marae. She was the CEO, just a real mover and groover. And she would have, I think, made some real, had some effect in Parliament over the last couple of years, but she'd been sick, you see.
She'd been unwell,
she'd been unwell, so she hasn't been really able to take those opportunities. And just heartbreaking when we heard that she died through her dialysis. And but, you know, yesterday a special day, you know, everyone making a contribution. You know, we're at each other's throats the day before. You know, Winston's calling the Maori Party, someone in the dock, and takutai a dickhead or something. And then very solemn yesterday. And really, I mean, that was Winston at his best. Shane Jones, you know, the other Shane comes out yesterday. Yeah. Beautiful speech, David Seymour. give credit where credit's due. Him and I always at each other's throats, and but hey, he stepped up, and well done to him. So just proud of my mate Penny Henare, who was really affected and almost traumatised really in many ways. And it's funny because we, as I said in my kōrero, we go to war. We say some terrible things about each other, and then Penny and her were very close. They used to call each other brother and sister in the end. It's just amazing, eh? That's the nature of the game.
Yeah.
And Māori politics in particular is a little bit different than everything else because we're friends, we're relations, we hammer each other, and then next minute we're having a kai out the back.
Yeah. And now there'll be a by-election in Tamaki Makaurau, Dan. And what's the situation with National? What's your situation with the Māori seats in general?
Oh well, firstly, I mean, a big shock to us in Parliament across the House, and to echo Willie's sentiment, it was great to come together. But sadly, it's the second time we're here. Last year we had the passing of Anana Efeso Collins. And so it's a real big shock to us in Parliament, and just taking a step back and acknowledging that, hey, life can be short. So, really good to see the House come together and the speakers. Willie says it right that we're often at each other's throats, but on occasions like this, it's really important that we acknowledge the humanity in the place. So my thoughts are with her and her family. Look, it's too early, Ryan, for a discussion about by-elections.
No one wants to talk about it, eh? No one wants to talk about it. Too early. Yeah. Well, you don't want to talk about it either. Too soon.
I think it's a tikanga thing for all of us. For all of us, not just for Labour or Māori, for all of us. It's a humanitarian thing. It's not the right thing to do.
Don't want to get into
politics. I haven't even seen Tash. I'm going out at 8 o'clock to Hoini Waititi Marae, so you want to pay the appropriate,
no, fair enough.
Kōrero, I suppose.
Yes, I think that's fair enough too. The Moana Pacifica was in the news yesterday for funding, and it's come through some really random channels. I was quite surprised to read the story from the Herald yesterday that talked about $8 million in funding. It was loans, that some of which has been forgiven, but then also some through a whānau ora funding. Dan, do you think it's odd?
Seems odd. The Minister is concerned, so he's written to the Chair of Pacific Futures Board asking for a please explain. For the listeners who are listening and tuning in, I mean, of course, whānau ora was set up to provide funding for Māori outcomes, and so it'd be very concerning if these allegations are true. So let's see.
Has he asked where the whānau ora commissioning agency or whānau ora or TPK, where this money's come from?
Yes, and again, TPK's looking into it. Okay. So let's see what they come back with. But certainly, if the allegations are true, we'll be looking at it in detail. Okay,
Willie, what's your take on it? Because it would have been under, well, presumably the funding would have started under Labour, did it? I mean, did you know about the funding?
I've only been made aware of it too in the last few weeks. However, there is some precedent in terms of government supporting sports agencies. MFAT, for instance, from 2017. I mean, Winston was the minister. They put over $1 million towards the Pacific Rugby and the possibilities and potential. So that's between 2017 and...
Yeah, but this is a franchise, right?
And 20...
This is a
well, I mean, they were talking with the Fijian franchise, they were talking with Moana Pacifica. MFAT was looking at all the rugby possibilities. So I think that the minister's done the right thing. Let's get some background history here. What's the history here? So we might all be surprised that there has been a lot of work done. Ministers' jobs are to get the money, then you hand it to the agencies, and the agencies make the decisions. So whoever the minister is doesn't have any say on where that funding goes.
But should it be going? I mean, if it's whānau ora funding, that should go to needy whānau.
Well,
just rugby friends.
Yeah. Well, we just need to have a look at the background here. Need to have a look at it because, as I said, there's some history. There's a lot of money that goes out to sports from government. Most sports are funded by government. Rowing, sevens, rugby, everything. So there's always initially.
Funds, that's the difference.
But this, exactly, there might, as I said, the MFAT was involved in this before. So we just have to look at the background, really.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Hey, another whānau ora funding question this week, which was about the ad that was funded through a commissioning agency. trying to encourage people to get on the Māori roll. Dan, you're minister, again, a minister's looking into things. I mean, do we have any answers yet?
Not yet, but very concerning if the allegations are true. So
everything's very concerning if the allegations are true.
well,
how do we not know if the allegations are true?
Ryan, you got to know the facts before you make decisions, right?
You've got to be quick.
Even Willie needs to know the facts, right?
The minister's asked the right question.
Yeah, so
we don't have the answers from Ryan.
Right. Where are they?
Certainly that would not be appropriate again for whānau order to fund initiatives like this. So let's see what the background, what we can find out.
You guys have been in government now for, a year and a half. You've got these directives about funding what you should be funding and shouldn't be funding, and all of these things keep popping up. I mean, is anyone actually listening to you in Wellington?
Look, the ship is big, and we've got a lot to do, Ryan. So I know my ministerial colleagues are working diligently and very hard.
Generally, that's a pretty useless ship.
The ship is
Dan should say a bit more, because I want to see Dan on the front bench. He should be here every week. You need to actually, if we're being serious, it's a pretty useless ship, and they haven't done anything. And anything that goes wrong, they blame Labour.
It's a Titanic.
It's a hopeless ship, and I know
we inherited a ship that was dysfunctional.
All right,
turning it around.
Here we go.
Maritime analogies. Hey, you're still media, aren't you?
Well, Māori media. Ruben. Our man Ruben is the media.
Ruben who?
You know Ruben.
Ruben Davidson.
Ruben Davidson.
Good man from the south.
At least Dan knows his colleague.
Of course I know. What are you talking about?
Ruben,
Ruben has got a big background in terms of media.
Don't worry.
He was
involved
with Jason down there in Christchurch.
You know his brother Scott.
It's all good. Sharp. Ruben's gave Goldie a hell of a time, so you're just sharp.
So the reason I was going to ask, what I was going to ask you about was the TVNZ board this morning. Did you see Paul?
Oh my God, what's happening there? Poor Henry. I mean, I read what you read. Oh God.
But he'll be good for a shake-up.
Oh, he'll be mayhem. What are you talking about? He's unstable.
But they need a bit of a
he's a great entertainer, great presenter. Let's give it that. But next minute, Paul Henry, he'll want to be the CEO.
Yeah, he will. Be the chair,
look, he'll be entertaining if anything, eh?
Yeah.
But
Jan, is this is the government wanting a new direction for TVNZ for RNZ for the whole public broadcast?
Well, nothing's confirmed on that front. There's no official communication from government around the board.
That means he's been appointed.
But look,
the ship's leaking.
Ruben Davidson told me. All right, my man Ruben.
Yeah, we're definitely keen to see a change of direction at RNZ, TVNZ. We want them to start, becoming profitable, returning dividends to New Zealand taxpayers, and so I'm sure they'll be made on merit.
Paul will make sure that happens.
I think there's merit in him, but hey, let's see.
Hey, you won't be able to afford him. He'll say after you pay you pay me my $150,000. All right, Ruben Davidson will be right on to him. My man, Ruben, get him on this show.
You want to know what bankrupted the news media was his salaries.
Yeah, that's right. So he would have. Goldie would have cut him a deal, eh? There's $150K.
There's a proper process.
All right.
Not with poor Henry.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much for coming in. Dan Bidwell from National and Willie Jackson from Labour for your politics on Friday morning. We're going to take a quick break. Just gone 17 after 7. We'll be back in just a minute.
Are you considering a DIY kitchen but just not sure if you can do it? Well, it's not as hard as you think. With You Do It DIY Kitchens, you're in safe hands. And the customer support team really know their stuff. After all, they design and manufacture everything here in New Zealand. You do it and you save money. So choose You Do It, the affordable DIY Kiwi kitchen with a great reputation. Visit newsroom.co.nz.
I'm Hayden Scott and I'm a knife maker. I make knives from my workshop at home in West Auckland. Yeah, my previous life I was a chef, did that for 25 years. But I had this knife making thing that I was doing and had been doing for some time. And so that transition from finishing that 25-year career and taking the plunge into full-time knife maker I had been building up to that, but I still had to take a leap.
Ah, here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference. But 2 degrees has the most satisfied customers. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost center reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
Welcome back to Herald Now. As you'll be aware, Marlborough has declared a local state of emergency due to flooding concerns. This was actually announced yesterday in advance of around 60 households in the township of Spring Creek, north of Blenheim. They've been told to evacuate by 9 a.m. ahead of peak river levels expected on the Waido River at about midday. Hydrology teams have been working through the night to monitor Marlborough's Waido River because of fears about flooding. There are fears that the flood bank there, which was damaged during the Kaikoura earthquake, may not hold as the river level rises. So this is all precautionary basically at this point. We'll get an update from the local authorities a little later in the program. Emergency services responding to 7 weather-related call-outs since 4 o'clock this morning there. Now, Trevor Mallard is being sued for his actions during the Parliament protests in Wellington. A girl who was 11 years old at the time of the protests claims that Mallard blasting songs like Let It Go and Baby Shark while soaking her with water guns and sprinklers on Parliament's lawn caused mental anguish, humiliation and dehumanisation. Tudor Clee is the lawyer taking the case and is with us this morning. Tudor, good morning.
Good morning.
This is a serious case?
Yes, absolutely. I think we have to remember that at the time there was obviously a lot of divisiveness about the COVID response, and perhaps people looked at what was happening in a different way at the time. But blasting somebody with music is actually a military-style torture technique that's been banned in Europe for over 50 years and has only otherwise been used recently in Guantanamo Bay by the Americans. So it's actually a case that this is the first time that this military-style technique was intentionally used on children.
Right. I mean, look,
I'm no fan. 1993.
I'm no fan of what Trevor Mallard did by any stretch. I think he made a bad situation worse. But you can't compare it to Guantanamo Bay. I mean, surely.
Well, I'm saying obviously it operates on a scale, but ultimately the use of the loud and repetitive sounds on people, particularly children, is recognized globally by the United Nations and by the Europeans as being illegal. So there's obviously a scale, Ryan, but there comes a point of saying at what level is that scale acceptable in New Zealand, and is this something we want to see again? What
about the people who'll say, oh, look, this is just a bunch of, I don't know, potentially people who didn't like the mandates or didn't like the COVID restrictions, who are trying to get back at, cobbled some money together, got themselves a lawyer. What do you say to those people who no doubt will be out there thinking perhaps that this morning?
Well, that's the problem with people who didn't have a problem with this being done to people they disagreed with, but I'm sure they'd have a completely different opinion if it was protesters that they agreed with being treated this way. We have to also remember that the messages that were released this morning by the Herald showed that the police were actually in danger as well by what was happening. So it's not just a matter of ensuring protesters are safe, but I think it generally a safe environment for the protesters and the public.
Yeah,
there's a lot more to it, Ryan.
I think you've hit the nail on the head in terms of the Herald story this morning. Tudor, really appreciate your time for explaining that to us this morning. Tudor Clee, who's the lawyer for this 11-year-old girl at the time of the protest, who's taking the case to the High Court. And by the way, if it progresses through the courts, it will be us, the taxpayer, who funds it through the current Speaker's office, because the actions were taken by Trevor Mallard when he was Speaker of the House. Now, the Herald story, which I do encourage everyone to go and read today, because it's got all of the juicy OIA receipts on what was going on between Trevor and police at the time of the protests. So this is why everyone's on the lawn of Parliament. So Richard Chambers, who's the current police commissioner but was the assistant commissioner at the time, He recorded in his little operation log about Mallard, saying he's become increasingly frustrated and decided to make life as uncomfortable for the protesters as possible. Chambers records show that he told Mallard by phone the move will be perceived as a police tactic, but Mr. Speaker says we can address in the media that this is his decision. Also pointed out to Trevor that they are likely to damage the sprinkler system. Now, the damage ended up costing $3,000, lawn repairs $114,000. They again implored the Speaker to stop and to not go ahead with the music and with the sprinklers, and Trevor did it anyway. They then appealed to Poto Williams, who was the police minister at the time, you'll remember, and tried to get her to call Trevor off. She couldn't or wouldn't, and it continued, and so on and so on. And the interesting part of these OAA revelations is the fact that police worried it would not only make this bad situation worse, but potentially put police at risk if it continued, and yet it did. 24 minutes after 7 now. A story also in the Herald this morning reporting the maximum patronage on day one of the Auckland City Rail link will now be 19,000 per rush hour, down 8,000 on the 27,000 that was reported years ago and promised by Kiwi Rail. So is this a fundamental change to what we've been promised? Patrick Reynolds is transport commentator and City Vision Council candidate for the Waitemata and Gulf Ward with us this morning. Good morning, Patrick.
Kia ora.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Nice
Great to be
hat.
here. Thank you.
So why did they say we'd get 27,000 in peak hour and now they're only saying 19?
Well, I think there's a couple of things to this. One is it's more important that it starts reliably and well, and it is standard practice to have a lower frequency at the beginning.
Yeah, but why didn't they say 19? You know, well, they cocked up, didn't they?
Well, I don't think that's the really important point here. Well, no, here's the issue. If in the very early after opening, we double the current numbers to 19,000. Well, that is fantastic.
Yeah, but hang on, you're saying double so the current patronage
is about 10.
Is 10,
yeah.
Right? But isn't that lower than what it was a couple of years ago? It was 15.
Yes, yeah,
now we're down to 10,
yeah.
and now we're saying it'd be great if we can double that to 19. I mean, we've gone backwards before we're going forwards.
So this is the other angle on this, which is that Auckland Transport does not have a great record at modelling public transport ridership. They consistently under-predict.
Well, why did we build? We've spent more than $5 billion. We've destroyed businesses making this thing based on the projections that we should never have trusted?
No, not at all. These riders will turn up. I mean, this is a absolutely transformational project, the biggest change in the city since the Harbour Bridge.
For how many people?
Well, for a lot of people, it will be, but it won't be on the first day. It's going to build, and I mean, the area for concern is how quickly, rather than sweating about day one, which mostly we want it to be reliable and to not break down rather than the biggest possible capacity on day one.
Yeah.
But we do need it to build, and we want to see from Auckland Transport and Kiwi Rail the forward planning.
I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but I also think there's a massive trust problem between the public and what officials tell us, because when they say, hey, spend billions of dollars, you'll get this, and then we spend the billions of dollars and they say, actually, it's only that. And then we're saying we need to grow. I'm like, I don't even trust anything they're saying anymore.
Okay, so this isn't a projection of ridership. It's a projection of capacity. So that's a known number, right? That's as many, if all the trains are full at peak, you'll get 19,000. That isn't a prediction of whether 10,000 or 15,000 or 19,000 will turn up. That is unknown. And they rely on modelling to come up with those numbers, and that is a very inexact science.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll remember that next time they want money and model it on something. I'll say, hey, your modelling's crap.
It's the same with traffic modelling.
Okay.
The whole industry suffers from this.
Hey, I have to hand it to you because I noticed on our notes that you were going to be riding your bike in this morning.
Yep.
And it's pouring with rain out there and windy, and you've ridden anyway.
Yeah.
Good on you.
It was a bit gusty. Yeah, but it gets the blood moving.
Yeah. No, I was half expecting that you might just jump in a car.
I thought about it. I woke up at some point when it was really blowing, and I thought, I might drive. but then I stuck my head out.
Yeah, good on you.
Yeah.
It's part of the job, isn't it? Patrick, appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you,
Thanks
Ryan.
for coming.
Cheers. Good to be
Patrick
here.
Reynolds, transport commentator, City Vision Council candidate for the Waitemata and Gulf Ward. 28 minutes after 7 now. Sail GP, staying in Auckland, will be making waves in the City of Sails again next year, with confirmation that the regatta will be back on the Hauraki Gulf on February 14th and 15th. So start booking your flights. It'll be the second event of 12 on the calendar and the last of 4 New Zealand events that were promised when the competition launched. Liv Mackay is a strategist for the Black Foils, joins us this morning for reaction. Great news.
Yeah, hi, thanks for having me on. Very exciting time, actually. I also heard about it pretty recently, so I think, yeah, it's so cool to be back, and it's definitely the best event on the calendar, so really looking forward to it.
And what do you how do you feel about the pressure performing in front of Kiwi fans, especially given the success of the Black Foils?
Yeah, I think Sail GP is such a unique league, and that every event is really different. It has its different challenges. So I think with Auckland, we definitely had a tricky event this year, and we really want to come back out firing. I mean, the home crowd was absolutely insane. So I think we really want to go back out there, win at our home event, but also just, have a bit more of have a positive sailing experience there, and really, kind of enjoy the crowd a bit more, where we don't have as many challenges.
And this season, you guys, you're heading to Portsmouth in the UK, July 20th, 21st, and currently in third with 44 points, just 2 behind the leaders Spain, and in second place Australia. How do you reckon you'll go in Portsmouth?
Yeah, it's going to be really looking forward to actually the whole European block. We've got a lot of back-to-back racing coming up, which I think really gets a lot of momentum with the team. It's really nice to be with each other all the time and build on the last races. So looking forward to getting into Portsmouth, and then we do a few European leagues up here. But the points are very tight at the top, which I mean is always really exciting. That's what we're here for, and yeah, I think that's quite an interesting top 3 given last season's results. So I think we really want to, keep fighting and get at the top of the table coming into the end of the season.
Yeah, you're close enough. You can do it. I've got faith, Liv. Hey, what is it? Can you? Because I'm a bit ignorant, but what is a strategist? What is that? What do you do?
Great question. My role changes a lot, to be honest, depending on the day. So just as you'd think of, business strategy or anything, it's looking at all the information kind of presented to you, and then putting together a plan of what you think will be best for the given wind conditions, the given course, the given situation. So that's predominantly my role, and then you might often see there comes down to 5, 4, or 3 people on board, the lighter it gets, and I actually go forward on the boat and end up grinding. So it's quite a dynamic role, and one that's very, very fun.
Yeah, it sounds like pretty much everything, bit of everything, Liv, which is great. Lovely to have you on the program, and best of luck for Portsmouth. Great news that we're going to be seeing some more sailing action here in Auckland as well. Liv Mackay with us, Black Foils strategist and just basically all-rounder. Why don't we get Liv to do the City Rail Link projections? She obviously knows what she's doing. She's very capable. Clearly, Auckland Transport's not. Liv, I reckon you've got a new job when you come back here for the racing. 28 minutes away from 8. Here's Neva.
Herald NOW News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
A global security analyst says it's essential we fill the thousands of roles sitting empty in our Defence Force. Latest data shows more than 3,000 regular force positions and about 730 civilian roles were vacant at the end of March. Official figures show as of February, about a third of regular force roles were unfilled. Waikato University senior lecturer Ruben Steff says geopolitical tensions are rising in the South Pacific, so we need a modern military.
Imperial Japan got all the way down to the South Pacific in World War II. Australia and New Zealand in that war were basically on the chopping block. Yet there's almost no modern memory of this.
Emergency services are on high alert in the Upper South Island. A local state of emergency is in effect for parts of Marlborough, with Spring Creek residents being warned to leave their homes. Fire crews have also been called to flooding in and around homes in Richmond and Motueka. MetService says the top of the south is bearing the brunt of heavy rain. A severe thunderstorm watch is in effect for Auckland and Northland, and other parts of the country can also expect rain. Auckland City Rail Link is set to open with 19,000 peak passengers, much lower than earlier forecasts. In 2022, it was reported 27,000 passengers an hour would be using Auckland City Rail Link at peak times when it opens next year. Auckland Transport Rail Services Group Manager Mark Lambert says they must operate the network in a financially responsible way, providing the right frequency and capacity of trains to meet demand. And he says they're increasing the train fleet by about 30% to make a peak of 19,000 passengers possible. Local politicians will be given an allowance to buy security systems at their homes. The $4,500 matches what MPs currently get and will come into effect after this year's local elections. The money will be distributed by councils. Central Otago Mayor Tamer Ali says people need to be able to feel comfortable doing their jobs. She says members are also worried about their families. The injectable weight loss drug Wegovy will be available by Tuesday in New Zealand. The prescription drug has proved popular overseas with many celebrities using it. Weight loss physician Dr. Lara Courtenay says that the drug currently isn't funded by Pharmac, so people will have to pay. She says it would be great if it was funded one day, but there are lots of drugs which need money. The death of Te Pāti Māori MP Takutai Tash Kemp will prompt a by-election in her Tamaki Makaurau electorate. Kemp, who had kidney disease, has died at the age of 50. The first-term MP entered Parliament in 2023 after narrowly defeating Labour's Pene Henare, who had previously held the seat since 2014. The leader of Labour's Māori caucus, Willie Jackson, says the focus right now is on mourning, not campaigning.
Herald NOW Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
In sport, Penrith's NRL League season revival is on after securing an 8-6 win over Canterbury in a last-place thriller with the competition leaders on the cusp of a try. Golfer Kazuma Kobori's in a share of fourth, 2 strokes off the lead after carding a 4-under par 66 in the opening round of the Italian Open. Kane Williamson, Devon Conway and Lockie Ferguson are missing from coach Rob Walter's maiden Black Caps squad for next month's T20 Tri-Series with South Africa and host Zimbabwe. Bevan Jacobs is in line for a debut.
You're watching Herald Now. It is 24 minutes away from 8 o'clock. So overnight, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, wheels out Pete Hegseth, who's his Defence Secretary, to try and mop up the whole, did we destroy the uranium? Did we even, destroy the nuclear capability, the facilities in Iran? And so there's been a press conference at the Pentagon, right? And Pete Hegseth comes out and he's very good at attacking the press. I mean, as is Donald Trump, but Pete Hegseth has a particular set of skills. And so he has very much done that with a big sledgehammer overnight. Have a listen to what he's had to say about the evidence that they say they've got that they did make inroads years, not months, into Iran's nuclear program, versus that report from CNN, which, remember, was just an initial report. It was a low level of confidence, but said that the Iranian uranium enrichment process had only been set back months, not years. Take a listen.
How about the Israeli Atomic Energy Commission? The devastating U.S. strikes on Fordow destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility inoperable. Have any of these quotes made their way into the New York Times or the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN? Any of these quotes? How about this one? This is a new one from the UN, the United Nations. No friend of the United States, or certainly Israel often. Here's the head of the UN Atomic Energy Agency this morning, Rafael Grossi. U.S. and Israeli strikes caused enormous damage to Iran's nuclear sites. Don't take my word for it. How about the IDF's chief of staff? I can say here that the assessment is that we significantly damaged the nuclear program, setting it back by years. I repeat, years. the Iranian foreign minister, the spokesman. Our nuclear installations have been badly damaged, that's for sure.
So there you go. He's having a crack at the media, including, and then calls them out and points to them each in the room, including CNN. Interestingly, some officials from the Pentagon went into quite a lot of detail about the so-called bunker buster bombs that the United States dropped onto the Iranian nuclear facilities, and actually played, for the first time, showed the public a test of one of these bunker buster bombs. Take a look.
The video I'm about to show you is a culmination of over 15 years of development and testing. As I said, hundreds of test shots on various models. This is one weapon. So if you take a view of this as 5 additionals, you'll get a sense of what this looks like. Keep it going for a minute. You'll see inside the mission space. Unlike a normal surface bomb, you won't see an impact crater.
See, that's the interesting bit right at the end. The footage of just the hole in the ground looks like it could have been just a drill that had done that. It was a bomb that goes down up to 60 metres underground and then detonates once it's there, which would explain why you may not necessarily see a huge debris field or crater above ground, but damage definitely done underneath. It is 22:08. Here's weather.
Herald Now weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning. A tense night for many in the northwest of the South Island, with the relentless rain continuing thanks to this large low spinning out to the west. It's pushing fronts and troughs over central New Zealand today before the low itself heads east tomorrow. So the orange heavy rain warnings for parts of Nelson District remains in place till 6 tonight. For Tasman, this will expire at midday. Now, for those in Auckland and Northland, be wary of thunderstorms. They'll ramp up this morning with the risk of localised downpours. So a mostly cloudy day expected for the lower south. Rain returns from late afternoon or evening with southeasterlies for most. Plenty of rain still to come here, especially over those watch and warning areas in the north. Christchurch, you'll have rain at times too, with a southerly turning westerly. The main rain band will head east today, so periods of rain may be thundery for New Plymouth, but it is clearing with most dry by early tonight. A heavy rain warning is in place for Bay of Plenty and Rotorua from midday today, but rain also spreads further east with strong north to northeasterlies. And a work from home day for those in the upper north if you can. Rain, possible downpours this morning, and nor'easters gusting 90 k's for Auckland.
It is 19 minutes away from 8, and it is time to talk business with our partners 2 Degrees. Supermarkets are claiming this morning that they're taking a hit on the price of butter. Yes, they're taking a hit on the price of butter, selling below cost to draw in customers. In other words, a loss leader. Business Desk has been looking into this. Garth Bray is with me now. Hey, Garth.
Hey, Ryan.
So is this true? Are they doing this?
Well, we've got their word for it at the moment. I mean, we've got Chris Quinn saying that he's the CEO of Foodstuffs North Island, saying that they have on occasions been selling, Pack and Save have been selling at $1 per block below supply cost on their own brand, that's Pam's. The South Island chain confirming to us that, yeah, they're taking a hit as well. Woolies saying occasionally on their own brand. This is the supermarket own brands that they have a lot more control over. I mean, if you look at the numbers sort of more broadly, the most recent global dairy trade, I think the butter price rose about 1.4% to $13,000 a tonne. So if you do the numbers on that, it works out at about $6.50 for a 500 gram block. So there's obviously a couple of dollars in there in processing it, getting it to a supermarket and so on, that somebody's still charging if that claim stands up. But I guess that's an indication of their plea that, hey, look, we're also taking the hit, that we're prepared to put this out there just because it's such a high-profile commodity
and a staple that
you
got to buy, right?
Oh, well,
hey,
in our house, definitely.
Fascinating what's happening in the United States overnight. So the dollar's taken a bit of a tumble because Trump is threatening not to replace Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, because you can't do that, but bring forward the announcement of his replacement.
It's basically, how do we make a lame duck or a shadow chair? So Jerome Powell, he's been testifying along with other Fed voting members of that reserve board that were setting rates last week. And this story has sort of bubbled up and floated that he's considering naming someone as early as October, which would be about 8 months before his term expires. And as soon as you've got the new guy, effectively, that's going to take over for the next 5 years, anything he or she says becomes kind of like, oh, well, this is, you forget whatever the old bloke says.
Yeah, you undermine the guy.
It's a really dirty tactic, but it's actually...
It's very Trump.
Well, but it's kind of, it's his way of sort of having, his way and trying to influence it. And I guess the risk there is, does that change Powell's calculations? We're hearing all of this stuff out of the States about how they're still not sure how those tariffs will feed through to inflation. But is this a subtle way of saying, hey, get on and drop the rates?
Cut the rates. And clearly the markets think that it will work because we're down 0.5% overnight, lowest in 3 years for the dollar.
See how that shakes down anyway.
Right, Garth, finally this morning, they're saying in the US you can use crypto for a house deposit. I mean, what the hell's this? I don't know anything about it.
Extra space required there, sorry.
All right, so for a house deposit, that sounds reasonable?
Yeah, well, considering how volatile it is. I mean, I don't know how you would go walking into a bank here and saying, hey, I've got a stack of crypto and I'd like to use that. But no, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the mortgage guarantors, which are sort of supervised by the Federal Housing Agency, have been told that they have to consider cryptocurrency as an asset for a single family mortgage risk assessment. So basically, if you've got crypto in the bank, you can count that as part of your eligibility for a loan, which is a big step. And this is, again, I guess, a Trump...
legitimising crypto.
Yeah, I mean, here our own regulator, the Financial Markets Authority, has been talking about the need for more regulations around these virtual assets, things that you can't get your hands on, because we simply don't have a lot of control over how they are dealt with and so on. Yeah, they're trying. There's a bunch coming.
Can you hear the thunder? It's very loud. In Auckland this
truck.
morning. No, it's thunder. I can definitely tell that's thunder. Hey, thanks, Garth. Good to see you. Garth Bray with us from Business Desk. Thanks to our partners, 2 Degrees, every morning. It's 7:45 now. Time for an update on the farming sector. We have former All Black and North Canterbury farmer Richard Lowe, who's managed to work a Zoom with us. Hey, Lowe, how are you?
Good. I remember how to use the right buttons, so thank God I got through.
How's things? Long time no see. Are you well?
Yeah, I am. I had a wee bit of a mishap the other day and got nailed at an intersection.
Oh.
So,
what happened? Was it whose fault was it?
I was parked up, not moving, at a giveaway sign.
Oh, shoot.
Builder came around the corner and on the wrong side of the road and took me and my truck out.
Oh, shoot. Well, I'm glad you're here to tell the tale, Lowe.
Let's fix all these things.
Yeah, you can. Let's start with export prices. I mean, what more do we say? It's been fantastic. It's been a boon, and it's helping the economy. And dairy's been leading the charge.
Yeah, it's been great. Dairy, as you said, leading the charge, but beef and lamb, they're right up there too. There's rumours of $10 plus contracts out there for later on in the winter, which is great. Great returns for farmers. They're taking it while it's there. But on the other hand, the cropping fellas, the arable chaps, they're struggling a wee bit because of their returns, the inputs, and as we know, anything we import from the other side of the world, like fertilisers, etc., fuel, take the cream off the crop.
And what about, we've got obviously winter months ahead. How are things shaping up for farmers?
Yeah, I was thinking about this last night when your people contacted me. There's nowhere dry in the country, and after the last 24 hours, especially central New Zealand, are very, very wet. And I know a block of land I graze up on the Port Hills here. I was up there a couple of days ago, and the water's just oozing out of the hills. So, yeah, it's been a really reasonably damp winter. Places like the Mackenzie Basin around Tekapo, they got a heap of snow, but I suggest if you're going to have a ski field in your backyard, you're going to get snow at some time.
Hey, appreciate your time this morning, Lowe. Good to see you, and look after that hand of yours. Richard Lowe,
Will do, Ryan.
North Canterbury farmer, with a rural update for us this morning, 12 minutes away from 8 o'clock now, and you're watching Herald Now. We are going now to the Mayor, Marlborough Mayor Nadine Taylor. She'll be with us in just a second, actually. A couple of things to update you on with the weather. Heather Keats will be with us after the Mayor as well in just a few moments. Buses cancelled for Motueka High School students. This is because of bad weather. And in Motueka, Rikawa School has been closed. This after the Rikawa River breached its banks. This is according to the school's Facebook page, which has been reported by the Herald this morning. So we'll bring you up to date. We'll have the Mayor and Nadine Taylor, and we will have Heather Keats from MetService live next.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, if we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then. Mm-hmm.
In 1985, my grandfather set out to make the world a better tea. That's why we grow our own, unlike other tea companies. Then pick the best leaves by hand, not machine, and pack it right here in Sri Lanka. But it's not just the taste that makes our tea better. 15% of our profit goes to humanity and to the elephants. As my grandfather said,
do try it.
You Do It delivers high-quality New Zealand-made flat-pack DIY kitchen cabinetry. With flexible widths at your fingertips, it makes designing easy. All at an affordable price because you order online and cut out the middleman. You can even upgrade your dream kitchen with You Do It stylish and clever options, like choosing wall cabinets with overhanging doors, or select from a range of pull-out storage solutions. Add premium soft-close drawers and ask to stretch the height, width or depth of your cabinets. Upgrade your kitchen today and head to newsroom.co.nz.
You're watching Herald Now. It's great to have your company this morning. Don't forget you can get in touch with us, Ryan at nzherald.co.nz. Now, with most of the country under weather warnings, a local state of emergency for part of Marlborough has been declared. The Waido River stop bank at Spring Creek is compromised. Marlborough Emergency Management has advised residents to plan to evacuate this morning by 9 o'clock. Fire and emergency services in the region also responding to, I think, 6 or 7 call-outs this morning. Nadine Taylor is the Marlborough Mayor and is with us live. Thank you so much for being with us this morning in Blenheim. Nadine, what's the latest situation?
So the latest situation, Ryan, is we're still under that orange heavy rain warning. We've got some localised flooding around the State Highway network. A small part of the highway is closed at State Highway 63, and we're still proceeding with that precautionary evacuation of the residents in Spring Creek. As we watch the weather today, we'd prefer them to be safely out of their homes just for the day so that we can ensure that everybody is safe and sound.
So nothing major so far that you're really worried about. Can you just talk us through the precautionary evacuations? Is that common? Because it must be a difficult thing to do, getting people, taking people away from their homes and out of their lives when something hasn't actually, flooded or close to flood yet. Can you talk us through that process?
Look, you're absolutely right. It is a difficult thing to do. But what we have to work on is the things we know. And we know that stop bank's compromised. It was compromised in the 2016 Kakaura earthquake, but not recognised until the July 2021 storms. Given that we know the stock bank is compromised, we've set a bit of a threshold by which we want to take the people out of Spring Creek just to make sure that they are safe. That's the precautionary approach. We've talked to the community. They know about it. They know why we're doing it. They even know the trigger levels that we set for it. So we're doing a partnership approach with them, which does make it a little bit less difficult. But we've all agreed we want to err on the side of caution. The community tells us they don't want to sit there knowing the stock bank's compromised as well in these heavy rain events.
Yeah, fair enough. So when does the stock bank get uncompromised? When does it get fixed? Or you know, are there plans for that to happen soon, or is this going to be an ongoing thing whenever it reaches this threshold?
Yeah, it's a great question. The planning is absolutely in place, and we've shared that with the community. It will be uncompromised by June 2027. Now, I know that sounds like a little way out. We've completed the design. We're working with the contractors now to refine that. But to rebuild a stock bank, you have to do it in the summer. You know, this river, it is a tiger, and we can only build in the summer when the river levels are low, and we have to build over 2 summers. So all the enabling work will be done this summer coming, 2025, the end of this year, and then we'll actually be building the stock bank proper through the summer of 26.
Wow, so we could
old stock bank down to rebuild the new one, so you understand why it's summer.
No, absolutely. Nadine, that means, though, potentially we've got another couple of, you know, well, not even just winters, but, you know, it rains in summer too and can flood in summer as well. So potentially we've got lots more evacuations for the people of, because of the Wairoa River in Spring Creek.
Yeah, we're always going to take a precautionary approach, and potentially there will be more evacuations. But as I said, that's why we talk to the community. We've had the community meetings so that they understand that. We're going to try and obviously manage that and give them as much information as we can in the build up to it. So we were door knocking last night, reminding them that precautionary, we'd like you out tomorrow. But I can't say we won't be having this conversation again before June 2027, but we'll always err on the side of caution.
All right. Nadine, appreciate your time this morning. We'll let you get back to it. I know you've got the Minister meeting you there, Mark Mitchell, this morning. That is from Marlborough, the Marlborough Mayor, Nadine Taylor. Time now is 5 to 8. Let's check in with MetService Head of News, Heather Keats, is with us in the studio. Heather, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
Well, I thought it was thunder out there, but actually it was just...
Thunderstorms, possibly, yes, but I haven't actually heard any thunder or seen any lightning this morning. But the wind gusts are intense in Auckland, and yeah, we're under a thunderstorm watch. So, I mean, you'd be close.
Tell us what is let's start in north and then head south. So for Northland and for Auckland, we've got thunderstorm. Is it a watch, not a warning at this stage?
No, so there has been a warning issued. It was issued at 7 this morning for the far north and Whangarei. So a severe thunderstorm was detected. This is, you know, incredibly heavy localised downpours of up to 40 millimetres of rain. It is tracking south. It's expected by 8 a.m. to be near Hukarangi and Whakapara. Then we review it again and see if it's lost any steam, if we need to issue another warning as that system tracks down. But there are thunderstorms expected today, not just for Northland and not just for Auckland. It's a massive part of the North Island and the northwest of the south as well, all the way up till midnight tonight. And with these thunderstorms, we are seeing those wind gusts as well. So for Auckland this morning already, we've had gusts of up to 90 kilometres an hour. And of course, that's impacting the Harbour Bridge. And it is during commuter time. So it's going to be a work from home day if you can in the north. As we track down though, and we get to the northwest of the South Island, the front that's caused all of this rain, this very active front that's associated with this low, complex low out over the Tasman Sea, that slowed right down over central New Zealand, but it has reached the North Island now, and today it will track across the north and then head out to the east. So that is good news for places like Nelson and for Marlborough, who are under orange heavy rain warnings. The rain will start to ease later on this afternoon and this evening. There is, of course, still an orange heavy rain warning for Bay of Plenty and Rotorua. So that rain is still there today. And then our attention tomorrow shifts to the South Island once more, but further south where we've got heavy rain for Dunedin and North Otago and a heavy snow watch as well now, with snow above 500 metres. It's a very active system and it's been a very busy couple of days.
Yeah, you look like you might need to sleep, Heather. Okay, so we're just hearing that actually we've spoken to the mayor in Marlborough, but in Nelson Bays, police issuing warnings there to motorists about surface flooding on roads. We're also hearing about Motueka schools. Rikawa School near Motueka has been closed. Students staying home today, so we can probably expect to see a bit more of this throughout the day.
Yeah, so what happens when you get lots of this rain that falls not just low-lying areas, but specifically in the ranges, and we're talking sort of up to 100 millimetres just in the overnight period for some of those sites in Nelson. So that's quite a lot of rain. It does take a while for it to trickle down through the catchments and get to the rivers into the low-lying areas. So there will be that delay as well, which is why a cautionary approach gets taken with Spring Creek, with the river, etc., etc. But it will start to ease later on today, and then we're just left with kind of a showery flow over the South Island for the next couple of days. So hopefully not those significant periods of heavy rain.
Yeah, hopefully not. Appreciate it, Heather. Thanks so much for coming in.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Will we get any skiing in down south?
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
Not today.
No.
Maybe not tomorrow. But yes, next week is looking really, really lovely. And after a fresh dump on Saturday, I think the ski fields will be happy.
Fantastic. And we will get an update from Cardrona. They've got a new area open for you to enjoy. Maybe not this weekend, but no, that's a no. But potentially next week if you can get some time off, or the following weekend too. Heather Keats, MetService Head of News, with us this morning. Coming up to 8 o'clock, and you're watching Herald Now. Kia ora, good morning. You're watching Herald Now. I'm Ryan Bridge. Friday the 27th of June on the show this hour. We'll keep you up to date with that wild weather across the country, including from the top of the South Island. Will the band of bad weather wash out the opening of Cardrona's new ski field? Sounds like that's pretty much a yes. They are getting ready for the school holidays, of course, which is kicking off from Monday. So if you have got time off with the kids, could be a good time, Heather reckons. The plan to turn Canterbury into a $1 billion aerospace powerhouse sounds good, but how realistic is it? Plus, this mobile greenhouse van that's coming to a town near you, and what does it mean for your region? Right now, News with Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
A global security analyst says it's essential we fill the thousands of roles sitting empty in our Defence Force. Latest data shows more than 3,000 regular force positions and about 730 civilian roles were vacant at the end of March. Official figures show as of February, about a third of regular force roles were unfilled. Waikato University senior lecturer Ruben Steff says geopolitical tensions are rising in the South Pacific, so we need a modern military.
Imperial Japan got all the way down to the South Pacific in World War II. Australia and New Zealand in that war were basically on the chopping block. Yet there's almost no modern memory of this.
Emergency services are on high alert in the Upper South Island. A local state of emergency is in effect for parts of Marlborough, with Spring Creek residents being warned to leave their homes. Fire crews have also been called to flooding in and around homes in Richmond and Motueka. MetService says the top of the south is bearing the brunt of heavy rain. A severe thunderstorm watch is in effect for Auckland and Northland, and other parts of the country can also expect rain. Auckland City Rail Link is set to open with 19,000 peak passengers, much lower than earlier forecasts. In 2022, it was reported 27,000 passengers an hour would be using Auckland City Rail Link at peak times when it opens next year. Auckland Transport Rail Services Group Manager Mark Lambert says they must operate the network in a financially responsible way, providing the right frequency and capacity of trains to meet demand. And he says they're increasing the train fleet by about 30% to make a peak of 19,000 passengers possible. Local politicians will be given an allowance to buy security systems at their homes. The $4,500 matches what MPs currently get and will come into effect after this year's local elections. The money will be distributed by councils. Central Otago Mayor Tamer Ali says people need to be able to feel comfortable doing their jobs. She says members are also worried about their families. The injectable weight loss drug Wegovy will be available by Tuesday in New Zealand. The prescription drug has proved popular overseas with many celebrities using it. Weight loss physician Dr. Lara Courtenay says that the drug currently isn't funded by Pharmac, so people will have to pay. She says it would be great if it was funded one day, but there are lots of drugs which need money. The death of Te Pāti Māori MP Takutai Tash Kemp will prompt a by-election in her Tamaki Makaurau electorate. Kemp, who had kidney disease, has died at the age of 50. The first-term MP entered Parliament in 2023 after narrowly defeating Labour's Pene Henare, who had previously held the seat since 2014. The leader of Labour's Māori caucus, Willie Jackson, says the focus right now is on mourning, not campaigning.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
In sport, Penrith's NRL League season revival is on after securing an 8-6 win over Canterbury in a last-place thriller with the competition leaders on the cusp of a try. Golfer Kazuma Kobori's in a share of fourth, 2 strokes off the lead after carding a 4-under par 66 in the opening round of the Italian Open. Kane Williamson, Devon Conway and Lockie Ferguson are missing from coach Rob Walter's maiden Black Caps squad for next month's T20 Tri-Series with South Africa and host Zimbabwe. Bevan Jacobs is in line for a debut.
You're watching Herald Now. Yesterday we brought you, this is just in the sort of a weird file from Trump and NATO. We brought you the story of Russia, who's the NATO boss, yesterday calling Trump daddy in a press conference. All got a bit strange, and then Trump responded to that. Anyway, the White House, like the official White House social media accounts, have now posted this video.
I just want to get your attention. Hey girl, I really want to be all up in your head. Yeah. Is it you say daddy's home for me? I know you've been waiting for this loving all day. You know your daddy's home and it's time to sex. Yeah. So you ain't got to give my love.
Now, this is what they call in the PR business leaning into it. You know, when there's a bit of something weird happens, there's a bit of a scandal, there's a bit of a headline, then you produce content which leans into the story. And that seems to be what they're doing pretty hard at the White House this morning, leaning into the daddy's home yarn. Just gone 5 after 8, and you're watching Herald Now. Let's get to weather.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning. A tense night for many in the northwest of the South Island, with the relentless rain continuing thanks to this large low spinning out to the west. It's pushing fronts and troughs over central New Zealand today before the low itself heads east tomorrow. So the orange heavy rain warnings for parts of Nelson District remains in place till 6 tonight. For Tasman, this will expire at midday. Now, for those in Auckland and Northland, be wary of thunderstorms. They'll ramp up this morning with the risk of localised downpours. So a mostly cloudy day expected for the lower south. Rain returns from late afternoon or evening with southeasterlies for most. Plenty of rain still to come here, especially over those watch and warning areas in the north. Christchurch, you'll have rain at times too, with a southerly turning westerly. The main rain band will head east today, so periods of rain may be thundery for New Plymouth, but it is clearing with most dry by early tonight. A heavy rain warning is in place for Bay of Plenty and Rotorua from midday today, but rain also spreads further east with strong north to northeasterlies. And a work from home day for those in the upper north if you can. Rain, possible downpours this morning, and nor'easters gusting 90 k's for Auckland.
You're watching Herald Now. It is 6 minutes after 8 o'clock. Canterbury Aerospace have announced their $1 billion vision. But will they actually get there? And what exactly is it? Chris Keel is New Zealand Herald senior business reporter with us this morning. Chris, good morning.
Hiya.
What is this vision?
Well, at the moment, Christchurch has become something of a tech hub, and especially an aerospace hub. You've got companies like Dawn Aerospace who are doing the unmanned space plane. They just sold one to the Oklahoma Space Agency for $17 million US. Mark Rocket's Kia that does the really high-flying drones that look like gliders, which we had to fly for days. So it's already got to the point where it's a 400 million industry, and they want to more than double that to $1 billion, and they've got about 400 staff employed, and they want to ramp that up to 1,500 by 2035. And so they're all high-paying jobs.
Which is great, I mean, and good to be ambitious. Who owns this? What's the structure like here?
Well, you've got Christchurch NZ, the council's development authority, and a number of the companies all working together. At the moment, it's sort of like coordinating, helping to get more grads out of the local university, telling the story. Judith Collins, who's the space minister, one of the few space ministers in the world, as she likes to say, was on hand. She's not supporting it with any money, but she says she is cutting red tape. So, for example, the government and the previous government have put 30 million into this airstrip called Taufaki out west of Banks Peninsula, which Dawn Aerospace and others are using. And Collins announced a measure yesterday that essentially makes it what they call a sandbox, so aerospace players can do test flights there without having to re-permit all the time.
Right, okay, so government making life a bit easier for the business side of it.
Yeah.
What exactly is this plan involve? And they're quite fixated, or focused, I should say, on diversity targets, quite ambitious diversity targets for their hiring.
Yeah.
What is that about? What's the story there?
At the moment, I think it's fair to say they haven't actually audited the industry at this point, but it's something of a white male preserve. By 2035, they want to have half the workforce identifying as Maori, Pacifica or women.
Right, and what are they going to do to get there, or how do you do that?
They sort of talked up the merits of the goal. Rocket Lab isn't actually in Christchurch, partly because it is not carbon neutral. Back in the day when Rocket Lab was thinking of launching in Christchurch, of course they went up north. In the end, Eugenie Sage, who's a local MP at the time, hassled them about their emissions, which is partly why they were driven out of town. So there's that emissions target, but Rocket Lab has provided something of a template for diversity. They had a scheme for getting money if a staff member referred someone who's hired. And if you referred a male who's ultimately hired, you get a $1,000 bonus. And if you referred a female who's ultimately hired, you get a $5,000 bonus.
Whoa.
So presumably that motivated people to do a bit of networking.
Yeah, I can't imagine Judith getting behind something like that. It's not really.
I did ask her about that, and she sort of talked around it. She said hiring on merit was very important, but diversity was also a good target.
Okay, so equivocating a little bit there. Chris, appreciate you coming in this morning. Great pictures too of what's going on in Christchurch and Canterbury. Chris Keel, the New Zealand Herald senior business journalist with us this morning. A greenhouse gas measuring van is about to hit the streets of the country, measuring emissions in real time as it drives around. Dr. Jocelyn Turnbull is principal scientist at GNS with the van. Jocelyn, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, first question, is it petrol or is it diesel or is it electric?
Well, of course, it's electric. We really want to, if we're measuring emissions, first of all, we don't want to measure what's coming out of our own tailpipe, but also we really think it's important to make sure we're reducing our emissions.
What's the point of the van? Because presumably, I mean, so you're going to go around and measure carbon emissions. You know, we know that petrol guzzling cars emit carbon. What is the van going to tell us that we don't already know?
Yeah, so right now we know a lot about the total emissions for all of New Zealand, but we don't know very much about where and when our emissions are happening. So that's really the goal of this mobile lab here, is to go around and actually find out when and where all those emissions are happening, which then gives us the ability to figure out how we can mitigate emissions. And then as we move into the future, we can actually track whether those things that we're doing to reduce emissions are actually working.
I mean, I would hazard a guess, peak time on the roads, petrol cars would be bad?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We see, if you look at the daily cycle of emissions, you see this big peak in the morning and another peak in the evening. The biggest one is in the morning rush hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and
again,
that's actually in our cities Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be cynical, Jocelyn, but what is the van telling us that we don't, that we don't know?
Yep, so it really makes the invisible visible. So it's quite hard for most people to really grasp what we're doing in terms of producing emissions. So by actually measuring them and being able to map them, it really allows all of us to see what we're doing and to then think about how we might reduce those emissions.
Okay. Yeah. And what is the Carbon Watch Urban Research Program? What's the this is a GNS program, presumably. So what's the cost of it? How long does it run for?
Yep, so this is a 5-year program right now, and it's part of a much longer series of research that we've done previously, looking at sort of all of New Zealand and thinking not just about emissions in our urban areas, but also about our forests and our farmland and how those emit and absorb carbon. And so now this project is really thinking about what's happening in our cities, which is where most of our carbon dioxide emissions happen. And so we're running for another 4 years from now.
Okay. Can you show us and give us a look around, Jocelyn? Just sort of explain what the thingy-mabobs are.
So this is our van. If you come over here, you see on the roof are all our inlets, our Ghostbuster stuff. So this is where we're pulling air in from the outside. And then in this door, you can see this is all our batteries that are powering the instruments. So the van's electric itself, but then the instruments have their own batteries to power all of this stuff. So air comes in from those inlets, and then around the back you can see all of the instruments. Open it up.
Right.
So I'll give you a bit of a tiki tour. The key thing that we're measuring is CO2, carbon dioxide, and methane, which is shown here. And there's showing the values and then also showing us what's been happening over the last half hour or so. So those are the key things we're measuring. And then the other measurements over here, black carbon, and here where we can collect flasks of air that we can bring back to the lab to measure other things that we can't measure on the fly. So I'll just show you the flask there. So we collect one of these, and these we fill up over about half an hour to get a nice average of air, bring it back here.
Ah. Where would you take that?
The flask?
Yeah, on a farm or something.
So what? No, we're really interested in what's happening in cities. So we'll be driving around the whole country, and then as we're driving, we'll be stopping at certain places and doing these longer measurements with the flasks. Obviously, we can't be collecting flasks all the time, or we'd run out of flasks. So we're choosing specific places to get information about our cities and to really be able to look at the mix of sources of emissions in those particular places.
Jocelyn, I'll leave you to your ghost-busting antics this morning. Thank you so much for being on the program. Really appreciate your time. Dr. Jocelyn Turnbull, Principal Scientist at GNS with her Ghostbuster van. You're watching Herald Now. It is 8:15. Coming up next, the new distribution centre that French cosmetics giant L'Oreal have built in Auckland. We'll take you inside that. And then our panel this morning, Patrick Smelly from Business Desk and PDPR's Deborah Peed, talk us through the big stories of the day. Stay tuned.
Are you considering a DIY kitchen but just not sure if you can do it? Well, it's not as hard as you think. With You Do It DIY Kitchens, you're in safe hands. And the customer support team really know their stuff. After all, they design and manufacture everything here in New Zealand. You do it and you save money. So choose You Do It, the affordable DIY Kiwi kitchen with a great reputation. Visit newsroom.co.nz.
I'm Hayden Scott, and I'm a knife maker. I make knives from my workshop at home in West Auckland. Yeah, my previous life I was a chef, did that for 25 years, but I had this knife making thing that I was doing and had been doing for some time, and so that transition from finishing that 25-year career and taking the plunge into full-time knife maker, I had been building up to that, but I still had to take a leap.
Here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference, but 2 degrees has the most satisfied customers. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost center reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
You're watching Herald Now, and for your Friday morning, a couple of quite significant weather warnings just to keep you across, including for Northland and Auckland, and then for parts of the Upper North Island. This is a severe thunderstorm warning for this morning. If you are affected by this, then the advice is to stay indoors, particularly if it is very blustery. Lots of strong gales being reported this morning, and also it's the rain at the top of the South Island that seems to be the big problem this morning. We're hearing about reports of cars being stuck in floodwaters or near floodwaters in the Takaka Hill area. So do stay safe out there. It's 19 after 8 now. Let's get to our panel. We will, of course, keep you updated on the weather situation throughout the morning. Patrick Smelly, Director from Business Desk, is with us for his first panel. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here, along with Deborah Peed, founder of Peed PR and Panel Pro. Been here a couple of times now. Deborah, good to have you back.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, let's start with the City Rail link. This morning we heard through a Herald reporting the peak time patronage of the new City Rail link, which will open hopefully in about a year's time, is down by about 8,000. So I think 27,000 down to 19,000 compared to what we were told a couple of years ago. Does this mean, I read this and I go, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't have spent all those billions of dollars, but I'm sure that's an overreaction. Patrick?
I'd have thought so. I mean, I'm from Wellington. I've just got train envy. I mean, I had a look at this morning. It seems to me what they're basically saying is that when they start the scheme, when they start the new service, they anticipate that there'll be growth in the number of people using it, and they're starting it at 19. If more people want to use it, they'll add a couple of carriages. I mean, it's just a question of how long the train is, basically. I'd just take a chill pill about the whole thing. I mean, the idea that this massive thing that's been going on, it seems like forever, which has been mucking up central Auckland, it will be transformational for the central city. And you've got Chris Bishop this week saying we want apartment buildings built on top of these railway stations. The idea that it's not going to be heavily patronised and going to change the way that Auckland works. I just wouldn't lose any sleep over 8,000, 19,000, 27,000. The biggest issue is going to be when more and more people start using it, they're going to have to actually do more work to make it capable of taking the numbers.
And we're going to have to spend more money too, was the other point that was made in this story, to actually grow that capacity.
Yeah, I agree. I think the mindset, build it and they will come. I do hope this isn't a case of overhype and overpromise, as politicians are wont to do to get those budgets. But I live in the city. I've downsized to an apartment in Auckland. Our offices are in Queen Street, and I want the city, I want these pavements pulsing with people again. And I have a lot of hope that this will bring people back into the city. So, I certainly hope it's not going to be a ghost train. I don't think it will.
Very much.
But let's support it. Let's back it, and it will grow. It will grow in time. We need it.
Now, speaking of growth, Anna Wintour has been the head of a beast in Vogue magazine and has announced overnight that she will be stepping down, which is massive because so much of Vogue and the brand is tied up with and around her. Does this change much for the magazine? I mean, how significant is it for the magazine?
I presume it's an intergenerational change. I mean, I looked at this and thought, well, she's clearly decided that if the President of the United States is going to wear a silly red hat all the time and you can get Elton John glasses at Specsavers, why continue?
It's a funny old thing, because I actually was thinking this morning when I read the story, thought, kind of surprised that she had stayed this long with the brand because of the readership of magazines and all that kind of stuff. But she's really stuck it out.
Oh, look, she is the grande dame of a 365 billion fashion industry. And you know, there's an expression in publishing, the editor's word is final. When it comes to Anna Wintour, it's the editor's word is absolute. She has launched careers, she has decided fashion trends, she's politicized fashion, she is fashion. And what she's done with Vogue is simply not a magazine, it's an entire way people dress, think and behave. And yeah, but we were talking about this off air. I think all good leaders know when it's time to step down and pass on the baton. And there's new generations coming up, new formats of Vogue might be on TikTok, it might be, I mean, look at Herald Now, you know, a brand new format. And I think we might see something different with Vogue ahead. But she's one of the most recognisable people in the world, and she has made an amazing impact on fashion.
Yeah, really well said too. It'd be interesting to see who takes the reins after her as well, whether it's someone that she's been, you know, grooming for the role, or whether it's somebody from outside. We will wait and see, and we'll be back with our panel in just a moment, Deborah Peed and Patrick Smelly.
Hip-hop and R&B. Flavor.
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build the GJs because of the good quality that they always provide us.
They help us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ Gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
After 20 seasons on the footy field, it's fair to say I know a thing or two about resilience. Digging deep when the going gets tough. Just like Kaiwaka wet weather gear. Kaiwaka's been in the game for 200 seasons. 50 years of facing up to the elements, getting the job done and coming back for more. And that's guaranteed for a lifetime. Kaiwaka, designed to perform, made to outlast.
Of course we can set up the new smart TV for you. We could also put it on the wall for you too.
Want to keep your family safe online? We've got tips for that.
Yeah, I can show you how to use the AI on your laptop.
Teaching the kids to do laundry? These washing machines auto-dispense the perfect amount of detergent, making it super easy to learn.
Wait, what's a Ninja Creamy?
Got tech questions? We've got answers. With 66 stores nationwide, your tech experts ready to help.
You're watching Herald Now. Our panel this morning, PPR founder Deborah Peed and Business Desk founding editor Patrick Smelly at the desk. Guys, Jeff Bezos is having his wedding, so lots of really rich people wearing loafers in Venice at the moment. And a lot of attention from protesters saying if you can afford to have this massive, big, expensive wedding, you know, Oprah's coming and, you know, everyone's going to be there basically from LA. Mick Jagger's going, Bill Gates is there. So a lot of people are saying, look, if you can afford this big wedding, then you can afford to pay more tax, and they're sort of trying to destroy the wedding, or stop the wedding from happening. At the same time, we've got Helen Clark and former UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown calling for current leaders to close the wealth inequality gap. Do we have a problem globally, in the Western world, with wealth inequality?
Absolutely. I mean, that's inarguable. The extent to which a very small number of people have amassed an enormous amount of wealth, particularly in companies, tech companies in particular, which cross borders, and therefore governments can't really chase their revenue because the revenue ends up somewhere else. It's, you know, it slides all over the world. It's a toxic combination, particularly when you consider the impact that some of these technologies are having on society. You know, how do governments regulate social media, and how do governments actually get these guys to pay some tax? Two of the biggest questions for the next 20, 30 years, I think. I think this is why globalisation has basically failed. It wasn't supposed to give us a whole bunch of megalomaniacal billionaires on top of an enormous amount of wealth that was supposed to lift all boats. It hasn't done that.
But that wealth is based on valuations, which, are the valuations worth the paper they're written on?
Well, I guess Elon Musk's about to find that out. He's in terrible trouble with Tesla, and now he's had a couple of rockets explode. And I see in the media this morning, international media this morning, some suggestion that SpaceX may be in trouble as well. So, yeah, these things can disappear in a heartbeat. I guess the thing that strikes me about the Bezos wedding is that despite having all that money, he still can't get that 10-year fixed.
I agree with much of what Patrick has said, but also, this is the 1% being the 1%. And I've learned over the years that there's two types of wealth. There's stealth wealth and there's flash cash, and we know which one he falls into. When your own yacht has its own private yacht attached to it, you know that we are so disconnected from the 1%. And of course, the calls for higher taxation are legitimate. There needs to be some reform in this area, but complaining about someone's wedding's not going to cut it.
No. But so is there a thing where we say, well, it's the 1%, but then the 1% becomes the 5%, and then becomes the 20%, and then becomes, the top half of income earners, and, you start looking for taxes in all these different places, and then you do start to discourage people from, there's the old argument about incentive.
That's a legitimate argument, but I think we're talking about the 0.1% here with these guys, and the extent of the wealth imbalance that's being created is actually having social impacts and political impacts, one of which is, I think, the rise of the far right in Europe, the re-election of Trump. These are trends which are, it's not all Jeff Bezos' fault, but the way that people in the bottom 50% in particular feel about their prospects is going backwards. And so these guys become, a target in a sense. They're a political target. I agree with Deborah. Let the guy have his wedding, whatever.
Yeah.
Wedding cake for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be a good wedding cake too, you can be sure of that. Thank you very much for coming in this morning. Great to have you both here. That is our panel this morning. Deborah Peed, founder of Peed PR, and Patrick Smelly, founding editor of Business Desk. 29 minutes after 8 o'clock now. Don't forget, you can get in touch with us this morning. Ryan at nzherald.co.nz is how you can do that. We will, of course, have updates on the severe weather that's been experienced around the country. Our severe thunderstorm warning has been lifted for Northland just in the last couple of minutes, but there is a watch still in place. We will have more updates. Waiheke Island ferries have been cancelled, I'm just being told. The following ferries cancelled this morning: 6 a.m, 6:45, 7:30 and 8:15. And yeah, we'll have some more updates for you, including a little update from Heather at MetService. Right now, here's Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
A global security analyst says it's essential we fill the thousands of roles sitting empty in our Defence Force. Latest data shows more than 3,000 regular force positions and about 730 civilian roles were vacant at the end of March. Official figures show as of February, about a third of regular force roles were unfilled. Waikato University senior lecturer Ruben Steff says geopolitical tensions are rising in the South Pacific, so we need a modern military.
Imperial Japan got all the way down to the South Pacific in World War II. Australia and New Zealand in that war were basically on the chopping block. Yet there's almost no modern memory of this.
Emergency services are on high alert in the Upper South Island. A local state of emergency is in effect for parts of Marlborough, with Spring Creek residents being warned to leave their homes. Fire crews have also been called to flooding in and around homes in Richmond and Motueka. MetService says the top of the south is bearing the brunt of heavy rain. A severe thunderstorm watch is in effect for Auckland and Northland, and other parts of the country can also expect rain. Auckland City Rail Link is set to open with 19,000 peak passengers, much lower than earlier forecasts. In 2022, it was reported 27,000 passengers an hour would be using Auckland City Rail Link at peak times when it opens next year. Auckland Transport Rail Services Group Manager Mark Lambert says they must operate the network in a financially responsible way, providing the right frequency and capacity of trains to meet demand. And he says they're increasing the train fleet by about 30% to make a peak of 19,000 passengers possible. Local politicians will be given an allowance to buy security systems at their homes. The $4,500 matches what MPs currently get and will come into effect after this year's local elections. The money will be distributed by councils. Central Otago Mayor Tamer Ali says people need to be able to feel comfortable doing their jobs. She says members are also worried about their families. The injectable weight loss drug Wegovy will be available by Tuesday in New Zealand. The prescription drug has proved popular overseas with many celebrities using it. Weight loss physician Dr. Lara Courtenay says that the drug currently isn't funded by Pharmac, so people will have to pay. She says it would be great if it was funded one day, but there are lots of drugs which need money. The death of Te Pāti Māori MP Takutai Tash Kemp will prompt a by-election in her Tamaki Makaurau electorate. Kemp, who had kidney disease, has died at the age of 50. The first-term MP entered Parliament in 2023 after narrowly defeating Labour's Penny Henare, who had previously held the seat since 2014. The leader of Labour's Māori caucus, Willie Jackson, says the focus right now is on mourning, not campaigning.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
In sport, Penrith's NRL League season revival is on after securing an 8-6 win over Canterbury in a last-place thriller with the competition leaders on the cusp of a try. Golfer Kazuma Kobori's in a share of fourth, 2 strokes off the lead after carding a 4-under par 66 in the opening round of the Italian Open. Kane Williamson, Devon Conway and Lockie Ferguson are missing from coach Rob Walter's maiden Black Caps squad for next month's T20 Tri-Series with South Africa and host Zimbabwe. Bevan Jacobs is in line for a debut.
You're watching Herald Now, and to some breaking news. Auckland Emergency Management has just reissued a MetService release, a severe thunderstorm warning from 9 minutes past 8 this Friday morning for Kaipara, Waitakere, Franklin and Rodney. These thunderstorms are expected to be accompanied by very heavy rain. This warning remains in place until 8:52 a.m. And they do say that if you are in a situation where your life is under threat, to remain in place, basically to shelter in place. 25 minutes away from 9 o'clock now. Let's get to the rest of the day's forecasts with Heather.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Good morning. A tense night for many in the northwest of the South Island, with the relentless rain continuing thanks to this large low spinning out to the west. It's pushing fronts and troughs over central New Zealand today before the low itself heads east tomorrow. So the orange heavy rain warnings for parts of Nelson District remains in place till 6 tonight. For Tasman, this will expire at midday. Now, for those in Auckland and Northland, be wary of thunderstorms. They'll ramp up this morning with the risk of localised downpours. So a mostly cloudy day expected for the lower south. Rain returns from late afternoon or evening with southeasterlies for most. Plenty of rain still to come here, especially over those watch and warning areas in the north. Christchurch, you'll have rain at times too, with a southerly turning westerly. The main rain band will head east today, so periods of rain may be thundery for New Plymouth, but it is clearing with most dry by early tonight. A heavy rain warning is in place for Bay of Plenty and Rotorua from midday today, but rain also spreads further east with strong north to northeasterlies. And a work from home day for those in the upper north if you can. Rain, possible downpours this morning and nor'easters gusting 90 k's for Auckland.
You're watching Herald Now, and Cardrona set to make history this weekend, opening Soho Basin and becoming New Zealand's largest commercial ski area, weather permitting. Laura Headley is Cardrona and Treble Cone General Manager with us this morning. Oh, and Laura, how's it looking?
As you can see behind me, it's a little bit cloudy, but we are expecting a bit of snow tonight and tomorrow, so we're not going to complain about that up here.
Does this mean that you guys will definitely be open or still not sure?
Yeah, so we're going to do our official blessing ceremony with Ngāi Tahu and the contractors like Doffenmeyer who worked with us over summer this weekend. And then we're just waiting on Mother Nature to really provide some more snow so that we can get up and running for the season. So we've got some of our main basin lifts spinning at the moment, and Soho will be open as soon as we get enough snow to open it.
Pretty amazing feat for you guys. It's been, I understand, a decade of planning, of getting to this point. What's the significance of it for you?
Yeah, it is huge. It's being able to open up 150 hectares of terrain is just massive in the New Zealand ski industry, and it's such amazing terrain as well. So people have been looking over that basin since we opened and dreaming about skiing, and it's been planned for years. We started construction on the lift 2 summers ago, and then we finished it this summer. We've done a huge amount of work on our base buildings, so we've got a new restaurant, new retail store. We've had to do infrastructure upgrades on power, stormwater. We need to make sure we've got snowmaking, car parks. So it's a huge amount of work, a huge master plan, and it's all coming to fruition now. So we can't wait to open it up and to let people ski out there where they've been looking over and wanting to ski for years. So great day for us.
Yeah, and it's massive, 150 hectares of new terrain that you're opening up. What about all of the equipment, like the snowmaking equipment? How important is that to making sure that you can stay open, for long, provide a more consistent experience?
Yeah, snowmaking is really important. We've invested pretty heavily in snowmaking on our main basin side. We've started snowmaking in the Soho side this year, so we've got some of the infrastructure in. We do have limited water until we build a reservoir next summer, but it's a long-term plan, and snowmaking just sets us up really well, especially in the early season, and sets a really good base. And then Mother Nature comes in, and she always does.
Hey, good luck, and we're fingers crossed that you get some weather, get some snow, and you can open for the school holidays, Laura. Laura Headley, Cadrona and Treble Cone General Manager, pretty stoked with the progress, but also now the opening this weekend. And hopefully, as I say, people will get to actually use it next week, 22 to 9 now. Time to talk business with our partners 2 Degrees. Supermarkets are claiming that they're taking a hit on the price of butter, basically loss leading, selling below the cost to draw in customers. Business Desk has been looking into this, and earlier Garth Bray was on the show. I started by asking him, is there truth in this?
We've got their word for it at the moment. I mean, we've got Chris Quinn saying that he's the CEO of Foodstuffs North Island, saying that they have on occasions been selling, Pack and Save have been selling at $1 per block below supply cost on their own brand, that's Pam's. The South Island chain confirming to us that, yeah, they're taking a hit as well. Woolies saying occasionally on their own brand. This is the supermarket owned brands that they have a lot more control over. I mean, if you look at the numbers sort of more broadly, the most recent global dairy trade, I think the butter price rose about 1.4% to $13,000 a tonne. So if you do the numbers on that, it works out at about $6.50 for a 500 gram block. So there's obviously a couple of dollars in there in processing it, getting it to a supermarket and so on that somebody's still charging if that claim stands up. But I guess that's an indication of their plea that, hey, look, we're also taking the hit, that we're prepared to put this out there just because it's such a high-profile commodity.
And a staple that
you
got to buy, right?
Oh, well,
hey,
in our house, definitely.
Fascinating what's happening in the United States overnight. So the dollar's taken a bit of a tumble because Trump is threatening not to replace Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, because you can't do that, but bring forward the announcement of his replacement.
It's basically, how do we make a lame duck or a shadow chair? So Jerome Powell, he's been testifying along with other Fed voting members of that reserve board that were setting rates last week. And this story has sort of bubbled up and floated that he's considering naming someone as early as October, which would be about 8 months before his term expires. And as soon as you've got the new guy, effectively, that's going to take over for the next 5 years, anything he or she says becomes kind of like, oh, well, this is, you forget whatever the old bloke says.
Yeah, you undermine the guy.
It's a really dirty tactic, but it's actually...
It's very Trump.
Well, but it's kind of, it's his way of sort of having, his way and trying to influence it. And I guess the risk there is, does that change Powell's calculations? We're hearing all of this stuff out of the States about how they're still not sure how those tariffs will feed through to inflation. But is this a subtle way of saying, hey, get on and drop the rates?
Cut the rates. And clearly the markets think that it will work because we're down 0.5% overnight, lowest in 3 years for the dollar.
see how that shakes down anyway.
Right, Garth, finally this morning, they're saying in the US you can use crypto for a house deposit. I mean, what the hell's this? I don't know anything about it.
Extra space required there, sorry.
All right, so for a house deposit, that sounds reasonable?
Yeah, well, considering how volatile it is. I mean, I don't know how you would go walking into a bank here and saying, hey, I've got a stack of crypto and I'd like to use that. But no, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the mortgage guarantors, which are sort of supervised by the Federal Housing Agency, have been told that they have to consider cryptocurrency as an asset for a single family mortgage risk assessment. So basically, if you've got crypto in the bank, you can count that as part of your eligibility for a loan, which is a big step. And this is, again, I guess, a Trump...
legitimising crypto.
Yeah, I mean, here our own regulator, the Financial Markets Authority, has been talking about the need for more regulations around these virtual assets, things that you can't get your hands on, because we simply don't have a lot of control over how they are dealt with and so on.
18 to 9, that was Garth Bray earlier in the program. Right now, some more developing news this morning. One person is dead and another critically injured after a car allegedly shoved another off the road following a South Auckland pursuit. Rachel Mayer, reporter for the New Zealand Herald, is with me at the desk to explain what's happened here. What do we know, Rachel?
Well, the information about the crash is pretty scarce at this stage. There's a lot of different elements to this one, not your standard car crash. So we know that the cars crashed at 1 a.m. Police were actually in the area on Roscommon Road in the Glendon Park area doing something else. They see one car coming out with another one closely following. So the one closely following is an Isuzu, the first one is a Mitsubishi. Police put their lights and sirens on as they're speeding. Moments later, the Mitsubishi crashes into the Isuzu, allegedly shoves it off the road into a tree. The passenger of that Mitsubishi has died. The driver of the Mitsubishi is critically injured. The driver of the Isuzu was arrested at the scene with minor injuries.
Goodness me. So what are police saying about this?
They're not saying much. They've said they've opened up several investigations. The serious crash unit has come and reopened the road now after their investigation. They've also going to do an independent conduct authority, as is standard with the procedure, as police were pursuing the cars at the time of the crash.
All right, Rachel, thank you very much for that update. Great to have it. Just gone 16 away from 9 now, and that was Rachel Mayer from the New Zealand Herald. Now, from healthy homes to golden visas, all of the 1st of July changes that you need to know about are coming up next.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, if we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then. Mm-hmm.
In 1985, my grandfather set out to make the world a better tea. That's why we grow our own, unlike other tea companies. Then pick the best leaves by hand, not machine, and pack it right here in Sri Lanka. But it's not just the taste that makes our tea better. 15% of our profit goes to humanity and to the elephants. As my grandfather said,
do try it.
Do It delivers high-quality New Zealand-made flat-pack DIY kitchen cabinetry. With flexible widths at your fingertips, it makes designing easy. All at an affordable price because you order online and cut out the middleman. You can even upgrade your dream kitchen with You Do It stylish and clever options, like choosing wall cabinets with overhanging doors, or select from a range of pull-out storage solutions. Add premium soft-close drawers and ask to stretch the height, width or depth of your cabinets. Upgrade your kitchen today and head to nzherald.co.nz.
You're watching Herald Now. It's just gone 14 minutes away from 9 o'clock. We'll keep you up to date with the situation with the weather across the country. A lot of thunderstorms in Auckland at the moment, and we're also hearing about a lot of flooding at the top of the South Island. From healthy homes to golden visas, all of the 1st of July changes coming and what they could mean for you. This is the subject of your front page podcast this morning. Chelsea Daniels is with us. Hey, Chelsea.
Good morning.
Good morning. So we've got a plethora of changes coming July 1st.
A plethora, yeah. So I spoke to New Zealand Herald property editor Anne Gibson. She takes us through about the healthy homes standard stuff that needs to be done by landlords by July 1st. And then I spoke to News Talk ZB political reporter Azaria Howell about a few things like Invest New Zealand beginning, speed limit reductions, a little paid parental leave boost and a slight change to job seeker. So the healthy homes are obviously the massive one, hey. 6 years after Labor announced that it was going to be a thing, it means all rental properties must comply with the standards that includes one or more fixed heaters, ceiling, underfloor insulation, having a window or door that opens to the outside in each livable space, and the gapping of holes, gaps in walls, ceilings, floors, etc., etc. Did you know that to test if your home is of a healthy standard, you get a $2 coin, and if you can fit the edge of that $2 coin in between like a window or a door, and that means it's not compliant.
So you put one of those little things on the bottom of the door.
I mean, some houses I've lived in, you could fit a finger or a fist through some of those gaps.
The thing is, most landlords, because we spoke about this on the show the other day, will have already done this, but there will be a few stragglers, no doubt, who are rushing to the finish line to get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a few other niche changes coming in as well that I wanted to talk about. Right. Things that maybe haven't gotten the headlines that they deserve. So the new legal requirements to keep records of the movement of raw milk on and off farm in the ongoing fight against Mycoplasma bovis. Yep. That comes in July 1st. From July 1st, it'll be easier for thousands of New Zealanders to access contraceptives like IUDs. Nutrition replacements.
That one I wasn't across, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, now you know. Nutrition replacements to be funded, fully funded for adults with Crohn's disease. And the government agencies directed to use woolen fibre products in the construction of and refurbishment of government buildings from July 1st as well.
Interesting. And it must be Wegovy, the weight loss drug. That must be next week too, is it? Tuesday.
That's the Ozempic one, hey?
Yeah, it's sort of Ozempic adjacent. It's the same material but a different brand basically, and one is used for diabetes. The one that we're going to get next week is for weight loss as opposed to type 2 diabetes. So that's going to be available from next week as well. Lots changing next week.
So much, yeah, next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Thanks for keeping us across at Chelsea. Chelsea Daniels, the Front Page podcast here at the Herald. 11 away from 9 o'clock now. We'll have an update for you on the wild weather around the country. We're back in just a minute.
Of course we can set up the new smart TV for you. We could also put it on the wall for you too.
Want to keep your family safe online? We've got tips for that.
Yeah, I can show you how to use the AI on your laptop.
Teaching the kids to do laundry? These washing machines auto-dispense the perfect amount of detergent, making it super easy to learn.
Wait, what's a Ninja Creamy?
Got tech questions? We've got answers. With 66 stores nationwide, your tech experts ready to help.
Sing your heart out to Coast's feel-good 80s hits. Kenny Loggins, Whitney, John Farnham, Eurythmics, Bonnie Tyler, Eric Carmen. The most 80s are on Coast. Sing your heart out. Coast.
After 20 seasons on the footy field, it's fair to say I know a thing or two about resilience, just like Kaiwaka wet weather gear. Digging deep when the going gets tough. Kaiwaka, designed to perform, made to outlast.
We've done few subdivisions with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
Time now is 8 to 9. French cosmetics giant L'Oreal has opened a new distribution centre in South Auckland, of all places. It's employing hundreds of locals, and Herald business reporter Tom Raynell has checked it out.
We're standing in what is our existing DC, and frankly, when we consider our growth ambition for the future, we gotta grow, right? So the new DC, it's twice as big, so it gives us that path to growth into the future, but it's going to give us so many other things as well. It's going to help us from a safety standpoint. We're already, as you can see here, we've got a gold award from ROSPA, so we take safety super seriously. But of course, bigger DC, there's much more space for the teams to operate. We'll be able to make sure we can retain that cross-industry distinction into the future as well. From a sustainability standpoint, we're going to have like 25% of the roof, solar panels, so renewable energy, biodiversity garden. We'll be collecting rainwater and making sure that meets all of our water needs as well.
L'Oreal has over $100 million in New Zealand sales and 32 brands across a range of different divisions. How important is it going to be to growing those sales and maintaining that sort of product diversity across those 32 brands?
Well, I think what's important is in beauty, because there's like an infinite diversity when it comes to the needs of the consumers, particularly in a very cultural, very strong sort of cultural mix here in New Zealand. So what you need to address those needs, you're going to have a big portfolio of brands. So that's why, yes, we have 32 brands. They're very complementary. They exist across makeup and skincare and hair care and hair coloration and fragrances, and they all have a role to play in addressing those needs.
What excites you about the Australian and New Zealand market when it comes to beauty?
I think I guess it comes back to the ambition and the job to be done here. I think the beauty is a very dynamic market. We talk about it being a permanent quest, even in tough times. Beauty feeds one's self-confidence, your self-expression, your through self-care, your sense of well-being. So I think that it's always going to be a dynamic market, and it's a very joyful and aspirational industry to be in. But to work with a team to stimulate that market and then seek to, with our customer partnerships, to outperform it, this is fantastic. But at the same time, we want to make sure we can deliver the extra financial performance as well. And this is in the areas like sustainability, so planet, but also a very strong people agenda as well. I spoke to you about how since 2009 we've been supporting women in science through annual grants to female Kiwi scientists, or working with caring families to support 650 kids, again for over 15 years here in New Zealand. A very strong people agenda, but also planet as well, making sure that through our business model, for example, right now refills, we're a very strong push on refills, so we can reduce not just the intensity of our packaging, make sure it's recyclable, but if we can reuse more of our packaging, then that's great for the planet as well. So what excites me about the job to be done here in Australia and New Zealand is this working in such an amazing industry with great teams and delivering extra financial performance, but also, and we spoke about it a while ago, this idea of building the company of the future. We have incredible teams across Australia and New Zealand. We've got over 150 people working here in New Zealand. And this idea of building the company of the future is really trying to enable them, take some of the brakes off, whether it's get into a bigger DC, or whether it's reinventing our HR systems, or new warehouse management systems, all the things that we can do to unleash the potential of this terrific team. That's really why we're investing in New Zealand.
So that L'Oreal factory distribution centre going to open in South Auckland. It's 4 minutes away from 9 o'clock now. Let's take you to some Kim Jong-un news, because who doesn't love a bit of that? His family have paid a visit to North Korea's new beachside resort. Take a look at these pictures. He said this is the North Korean leader, says it's the biggest feat, greatest feat for his country this year. And he is praising as being amongst the country's most beautiful resorts. This is according to local news agency. It's located in the Wonsan-Kalma coastal tourist area. The resort will be opening July 1st, but in case you were planning a trip, not open to us, not open to any foreigners, so locals only. And it has just gone 3 minutes away from 9 now. Thunderstorms are barrelling towards Auckland, due to hit in, well, they have already been, thunderstorms have been reported over the last hour, and there is a warning which is due to expire just in the next couple of minutes. These are pictures filmed by our camera operator Jason Dorday in central Auckland this morning, showing things a bit blustery there. MetService has issued an urgent alert for Aucklanders to brace for torrential rain from 9 a.m, saying driving will become extremely hazardous for morning commuters. Northland and Auckland are under a severe thunderstorm watch, which is expected to lift early this afternoon. That's according to MetService. And the NZTA Waka Kotahi says speed limits had been reduced on the Auckland Harbour Bridge as 90km/h winds whipped through the city this morning. Drivers should also be prepared for possible lane closures between 6 and 10 a.m. Right, 2 minutes away from top of the hour now. Parts of Marlborough under a state of emergency as well this morning as police urge motorists to stay put unless necessary due to, quote, extreme conditions, which have already closed State Highway 60. And to some international news, the US dollar fell to a 3-year low overnight. This after rumours, and they were only rumours, reported in the press that Donald Trump was going to announce early a replacement for Jerome Powell, who's the Fed chair. Of course, Trump wants the interest rates to come down, wants the OCR to come down over in the States. Powell's been resisting because he's worried about the tariffs and what that might do to prices, inflation, and therefore he's cautious with bringing rates down. Trump wants him to go early, called him, quote, dumb for not doing so. So to undermine him, the rumour is that he might announce his replacement up to a year early. He's got another year on the job. So the question then is, does it affect the trajectory of what the markets are expecting from rate cuts from the Fed? Well, they are pricing that in, saying yes overnight. They were down 0.5% on the dollar and the weakest dollar down, weakest since March 2022, which will be the 3-year number. Right, coming up to 1 away from 9 now, and you're watching Herald Now. We're going to get to Neva, who's got some news headlines for us now.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
A global security analyst says it's essential we fill the thousands of roles sitting empty in our Defence Force. Latest data shows more than 3,000 regular force positions and about 730 civilian roles were vacant at the end of March. Official figures show as of February, about a third of regular force roles were unfilled. Waikato University senior lecturer Ruben Steff says geopolitical tensions are rising in the South Pacific, so we need a modern military.
Imperial Japan got all the way down to the South Pacific in World War II. Australia and New Zealand in that war were basically on the chopping block. Yet there's almost no modern memory of this.
Emergency services are on high alert in the Upper South Island. A local state of emergency is in effect for parts of Marlborough, with Spring Creek residents being warned to leave their homes. Fire crews have also been called to flooding in and around homes in Richmond and Motueka. MetService says the top of the south is bearing the brunt of heavy rain. A severe thunderstorm watch is in effect for Auckland and Northland, and other parts of the country can also expect rain. Auckland City Rail Link is set to open with 19,000 peak passengers, much lower than earlier forecasts. In 2022, it was reported 27,000 passengers an hour would be using Auckland City Rail Link at peak times when it opens next year. Auckland Transport Rail Services Group Manager Mark Lambert says they must operate the network in a financially responsible way, providing the right frequency and capacity of trains to meet demand. And he says they're increasing the train fleet by about 30% to make a peak of 19,000 passengers possible. Local politicians will be given an allowance to buy security systems at their homes. The $4,500 matches what MPs currently get and will come into effect after this year's local elections. The money will be distributed by councils. Central Otago Mayor Taima Ellie says people need to be able to feel comfortable doing their jobs. She says members are also worried about their families. The injectable weight loss drug Wegovy will be available by Tuesday in New Zealand. The prescription drug has proved popular overseas with many celebrities using it. Weight loss physician Dr. Lara Courtenay says that the drug currently isn't funded by Pharmac, so people will have to pay. She says it would be great if it was funded one day, but there are lots of drugs which need money. The death of Te Pāti Māori MP Takutai Tash Kemp will prompt a by-election in her Tamaki Makaurau electorate. Kemp, who had kidney disease, has died at the age of 50. The first-term MP entered Parliament in 2023 after narrowly defeating Labour's Pene Henare, who had previously held the seat since 2014. The leader of Labour's Māori caucus, Willie Jackson, says the focus right now is on mourning, not campaigning.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
In sport, Penrith's NRL League season revival is on after securing an 8-6 win over Canterbury in a last-place thriller with the competition leaders on the cusp of a try. Golfer Kazuma Kobori's in a share of fourth, 2 strokes off the lead after carding a 4-under par 66 in the opening round of the Italian Open. Kane Williamson, Devon Conway and Lockie Ferguson are missing from coach Rob Walter's maiden Black Caps squad for next month's T20 Tri-Series with South Africa and host Zimbabwe. Bevan Jacobs is in line for a debut.
Before we go this morning, the body of Takutai Tash Kemp has been welcomed back onto Huani Waititi Marae. This is in West Auckland. These pictures are from the last hour. Kemp was a first-term MP last year. She took leave from Parliament for several months to battle kidney disease. She died at home in the early hours of yesterday morning, aged 50. And we spoke to Willie Jackson earlier in the program, who said that Parliament came together yesterday to pay their respects. And today, it's to the Huani Waititi Marae, where not only Te Pāti Māori, but the wider whānau and hapu will pay their respects. And that is it for us for this morning. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back on Monday from 7 o'clock. Don't forget you can keep up to date with those weather warnings, nzherald.co.nz. Quick thank you to our partners this morning, Forsyth Bar, You Do It, Barkers, Mac, 2 Degrees, GJ Gardner, Dilmar and Noel Leeming. From the team at Herald Now, thanks so much for joining us. See you Monday.